Here at Newton, I know Andy and I have been discussing it. All of us, Justin and Darren, also talking about this severe threat. That's why the Storm Prediction Center did have us under that enhanced risk. We don't see that too often around here, and unfortunately, it's all coming true with this very intense thunderstorms moving through.
This is also the one that we tracked starting in southern Eaton County, came through Jackson, may have created that 96-mile-an-hour wind gust because it was very close to the airport at the time, and that's racing northeast. You see that V-notch showing wind blowing into that line of storms. That's what that V-notch shows us. So there could be some rotation there developing near Westphalia. That was a signature a while ago. The Weather Service issued the warning for off to the north. The area that we showed you moving northeast towards Vantown and M52, that also was the system that the Weather Service prompted to put out that tornado warning for both of those counties. Plus we have a warning even further north, so obviously the line of storms do have these quick spin-up tornadoes. These aren't the ones that last very long, but you can tell that it taps into the wind. If you can get a 96-mile-an-hour wind gust at the airport in Jackson with a nearby rotation, it probably was a lot worse than that for the folks in Onondaga when that storm went over there, and they're reporting power outages, big trees down, those kind of things. There's no real wind gauge there to indicate what happened there in southwest parts of Jackson County. But certainly that one rotation now north of Stockbridge, south of Dansville, that one needs to be watched. If you're in that area, don't play. Get downstairs. If you have it downstairs, get interior rooms. If you have interior rooms, that's where you want to be. It doesn't take long. The winds come through with those gusts for about a 10-minute period, and then it's still windy behind it, but no longer those type of wind gusts that are that excessive. I can't tell you the last time I saw a 96-mile-an-hour wind gust on an observation at an airport that wasn't with a tornado. It's pretty hard to get a wind gust that strong without bringing that wind down from aloft. This is the case why we go with the first alert weather day that we started talking about last week for this day. We recognize with all the experience here in the weather office what's going to come through tuition. We keep an eye on it, update it every single day, every single show. And it was a major concern this weekend when we kept seeing our severe weather threat go higher and higher and higher. And it certainly has planned out to be that way.
Yeah, and some information that we're getting in from the National Weather Service as well. This is also coming from the Eaton County Emergency Manager that there are multiple reports of lines down in Holt and towards Mason. Also, the Leslie Fire Chief is reporting very large trees down across the city. Eaton County Emergency Manager also weighing in that there are some wires down in the Sunfield area, and we are seeing widespread damage across mid-Michigan with this line of thunderstorms.
There was an unconfirmed report when the winds were kicking up in southern Jackson County of tree on a home and possible entrapment, but that is not official by anybody, but it obviously shows that we've got all of that going on across mid-Michigan, and obviously you can be sitting in your house and have it be taken by surprise.
Yeah, and you know, and we're certainly going to be following some of the damage reports. As soon as it's safe to do so, we're going to try to get some crews out to give you looks at what is going on here with some of the damage that we're seeing with these intense thunderstorms. This is about as active of a severe weather event that you're going to see in this part of Michigan, where we have a couple of tornado warnings in effect. Good news is we're still seeing these storms move very quickly out of the way. So heavy rain and flooding is not a huge concern with this, but we are still seeing some of that very strong rotation south of I-96. So Weberville, even in Fowlerville, keep an eye out on that. And I'll take you a little bit further to the north where we're also dealing with the tornado warning. This is getting close to St. John's now. So if you do live in St. John's, make sure that you are getting into your safe spot. If you live anywhere in Clinton County right now where we're seeing some of this rotation, this is the velocity map. We've been showing you this a lot tonight. St. John's is right here, so just off to the south and west where we're seeing a lot of this rotation even towards Fowler, seeing where these intense thunderstorms are moving in. We're getting a ton of reports of damage. We're getting a ton of reports of wind gusts across the area. This is going to be a big cleanup for us, I think, across the area heading into the next couple of days, and it's going to get very cold. So tomorrow we're talking about temperatures that'll only be in the 40s, so this is a very dangerous situation.
Got reports here. I'm getting texts from so many people. Siding off of homes now in subdivisions that are along Lansing Road north of the city of
Okay.
Jackson. So it'd be north of Palmer Road, those areas, that wind gust there.
Yeah.
So a lot of these are starting to come in with that wind damage. I think what this case shows, yes, you get the big, huge tornadoes that, when you name them, we've had them, and they get big banners. But this is the worst weather scenario ever for mid-Michigan. I've seen it over 40 years. You get a front coming through with a long bow echo of storms, feeding into what was winter just a couple of days ago, and then the warmth of spring. All the ingredients are there, and that's how you're getting these super, super gusty winds. And obviously is a case where nobody gets left untouched. Maybe a little bit of this there. So we do now have a tornado warning officially issued for that rotation that has been moving out throughout Ingham County. It is now looks to be near Dansville at this hour, moving northeast. And what is the speed on that tornado warning?
Let me take a look here.
Moving northeast at 70 miles an hour. And I always like to say that if it's moving northeast at 70, if the wind's pushing it, guess what the miles are going to be when it gets to you? 70 miles an hour. If a thunderstorm can reach higher up into the atmosphere, and the top of that storm, the winds are way, way stronger. And if that can be rotated down, that's why the tornado warning is issued. They indicated radar is picking up that rotation, which we've been showing you now for a while. But they felt that it is getting into a position where it might drop a tornado into that area. So if you're in eastern Ingham County, if you're north of Dansville, get east of Williamston, as it all moves northeast, Weberville, you can see the latest update now puts it just south of Weberville and towards Fowlerville along M52, kind of the same little general vicinity that had the tornado damage just a few years ago. So that's the one warning. The large tornado warning is for that area you see going through Clinton County. So anybody in Clinton County should be in a place of safety at this hour. It's not worth the risk. Those are very gusty winds, and we've had gusty winds that have been so excessive, not even affiliated with a tornado necessarily. So there's a lot of that going on the leading edge. So as the storms approach, that's where all the action takes place. And nothing behind it but just rain and wind. So that warning goes till 7:15. That's been a large area warning, and for a long period of time throughout Clinton County, because that's where the leading edge is now at.
Yeah, this was a brand new tornado warning that we just got issued for Livingston and Shiawassee counties. This is in effect until 7:15. So it is that exact rotation that we have been following that was just to the east of Mason in the M36 area. Now right there at the bottom of your screen towards M52, it is very quickly moving off to the north and east. So that's why this crosses over into a brand new National Weather Service district. So this is the Detroit office where we're seeing this tornado warning. Thank you, Andy, for moving that a little bit. But this is right here where you have that red polygon with this tornado warning that's now for northwestern parts of Livingston County and in the southeastern parts of Shiawassee County. So it does not technically include Perry, but like we've been mentioning with this line, anytime you get this quick spin up, even Williamston, you're seeing very close red and green showing up, indicating that there could be some rotation with this and some very damaging wind gusts as well. Is that kind of what you're seeing too, Andy?
Yeah, well, they're advancing for that tornado that's at least aloft. That's coming out of Weberville area. That's why you have a new warning that goes into Livingston and up into parts of Shiawassee County, Cohocton, those areas. So that's going to move that direction. A concern then would possibly be with this influx here that's going on north of Williamston, east of Hazlitt, this area, which now is under a tornado warning.
Andy, I do want to point out the Ingham County emergency manager is saying that there was a report of a tornado with that same exact storm. He is saying Frost Road near M52, according to one of the fire department, a local fire department there.
And that would be not far away from the damage 2 years ago with the EF2 tornado in Williamston area. So that warning now that goes for southeastern Shiawassee County, northwestern Livingston, that's 7:15. And then you have the warning now for Williamston. Anybody in that area, Bell Oak off to the northeast, as you get even up towards Perry, should be seeking shelter immediately. This has been too many, numerous reports of winds over 70 miles an hour. That alone needs to get you away from windows and downstairs. I got a lot of weak trees out there that are sitting in soggy ground. they're toppling over and creating power outages. But we have those tornado warnings there right on top of mid-Michigan. If you're wondering back to the west, it in general is rain. Still very windy because this is a windy front going through, but you can see the 4 tornado warnings, the one that covers up to Weberville, and then the next one that goes all the way up into parts of Shiawassee County. But in between all of that is that small little area for the storm that is just northwest of Williamston. Again, moving northeast at about 70 miles an hour. So I don't know if there's any further reports on that tornado warning, but I think that one goes until 7:30, I believe, for that warning. That is in, let's see if we can get the exact time up here for you. So that is till 7:15 for northeast Ingham County, 7:15 for that rotation that's going on there. So we're watching all of these as they continue to move out of the southwest and move northeast. That area of concern that the Ingham County indicated out of emergency management, there was some damage there on Frost Road, M52. It's a major thoroughfare that takes you north-south in eastern mid-Michigan, and that heads towards Weberville. So if you're in Weberville, Fowlerville, this whole system moving northeast, kind of waiting to see that update from the radar. It takes about 3 minutes to get all the scans as the radar is going from the base of the storm all the way to the top and down again. And that's information that we're showing you on the screen. Has nothing to do with rain. There's quite a bit of rain out there for sure, quite a bit of lightning. What this radar does, Doppler radar, dual Doppler, is picking up the raindrops, the motion, the speed the raindrops are at. So it indicates what's coming at the radar, what's going away from the radar. So that gives you shear. In other words, as we go higher up into the storm, the wind keeps changing directions and gives you some rotation. So if you are along M52 and then towards Weberville, you should be seeking shelter for that system. The same thing holds true as you get northwest of Williamston, all that racing northeast. So that would affect Shaftesburg and then eventually off into Shiawassee County, other parts of Shiawassee County. So we do have those warnings in effect. These are all tornado warnings. In addition, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings for all those counties, but it's the red shaded areas that are of the most concern. And obviously, I think we just have another one issued here that goes all the way up to Owasso. So we now have in our area 4 right there alone, 4 tornado warnings for a very active front that has a lot of little mini circulation patterns, but we've had a history of that wind coming down to the ground, or at least the rotation does, and we're still pretty stunned here in the weather office that a short while ago the winds, as reported from the weather service instruments that are at the airport in Jackson, recorded a 96-mile-an-hour wind gust. That is amazing. It doesn't happen very often unless it's associated with some flow from a possible tornado nearby, and that's what we're questioning because Onondaga was hit very, very hard in that area as well. So those are the warnings that we're worried about. The biggest concern is that system that did produce damage, just showing a little sign of weakening there as it heads between Weberville and Fowlerville. Still concerns again when you get north of Williamston. That's moving quickly northeast as well. If you're in Clinton County, I would suggest if you're east of 127, you need to be in some shelter downstairs, interior rooms for that area, because quickly have had some very gusty winds. And again, these are all moving at 70 miles an hour, and we've got a new tornado warning issued there as well from St. John's down to Langsburg. So it's kind of a protective warning pattern, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so.
I think they know there's so many in advance, and they've been tracking so many rotations, and the history tonight has been those rotations equate to damage, whether it's siding blown off houses. We had some roofs opened up southwest Michigan earlier, a lot of damage, big trees down, falling on things in Jackson County as well as parts of Ingham County, Onondaga Township, no power there. If we can go to the power outage map, we can probably take a look and see what it currently looks like. We started with numerous power outages in the southwest section of Michigan, and then you start moving into BWL territory, which includes, as you can see there, you're now heading into almost downtown Lansing, certainly as you go towards Okemos, down towards southern Ingham County, where we had that heavy circulation coming out of Jackson, numerous power outages, and this is going to be probably a concern for quite a while. And that's going to take a while to get all that located. Now that is also transferring to east. A DTE power outage map, which does include parts of Okemos, Williamston, heading off to the east.
Oh, that's BWL.
Oh, that's BWL.
Yep.
Okay, so that's BWL. So they do have those concerns there. And then DTE, probably too soon to see those outages. But obviously, that was something we warned for before this all started, that there's the potential for widespread power outages here this evening. And they'll have their hands full because I think some of those crews from consumers might be attending to some ice damage off in the northern parts of the area. So you're looking at that line of rain now. It's coming through the area, heading off to the east. You have the counties there in red, as are your tornado warnings. So there's been some peak wind gusts that are now starting to come up on the map with these storm reports. Again, the Jackson one is just unbelievable, but the Edgemont Park is basically the airport in Lansing. The wind gust of 62 miles per hour, and then the Jackson one is unbelievable at 96 miles an hour, and that's at the airport. This is what we call an ASAW station. It's automated, so there's not a person maintaining it. It's just as good as a real one, that's for sure, because it is, and that's where observations come from every hour from that ASAW station. Temperatures, winds, you name it. And when that thunderstorm wind went through there at 96, I couldn't believe it. I had to call Colton over to look at it.
Yeah, Andy, and I just wanted to point out here, I'll step over onto the green screen and just show you all of the storm reports. Again, these are just the ones that have been submitted, and the National Weather Service has gone ahead and put it into the system. I would suspect that there's a lot more. Even there, it looks like there was a tornado report just to the north of Grand Rapids, or at least a funnel cloud or a tornado. But I have never seen this, and you don't see this very often. A 96 miles per hour wind gust that is recorded on a weather station at the airport there in Jackson. That is just absolutely incredible. Very, very rare. You just do not see things like this very often, especially too, these things can fail if the wind gets strong enough. So you typically see that a lot with hurricanes, but 96 miles per hour, you are getting into what, Cat 2 level hurricane there, if you want to think of it that way.
It is. There are many times when we're tracking a hurricane coming on shore at 96 mile an hour wind gust indicates probably excessive damage, and that might be what we're going to find eventually in southwest parts of Jackson County, or northwest Jackson County into southwest Ingham County, and that's where Onondaga has reported some of its damage in that area as well. So it's pretty amazing that we've had these wind gusts, and not really had tornadoes reaching the ground necessarily. A few confirmed that were in southwest. So far, we've had nothing confirmed with the tornado warnings that are southeast parts of Kent County, on over into Ionia and Hastings, those areas as well. All of those areas had very strong gusts. The airport had at Grand Rapids had 81 mile an hour wind gust. So we're continuing here to track any kind of storm reports to give you an idea. But obviously, we've been talking for a while now. If you're near that front edge of the line, we've done this now for hours. You got to seek shelter. Let that go by. We're talking about a 10 to 15 minute time frame for that gusty wind to push on, and it'll be just a normal gusty wind after that.
Yeah, Andy. One thing I want to, a very loud rumble of thunder here at our station in South Lansing. One thing I want to point out too with these two tornado warnings that we still have in effect for northern sections of Livingston County, and once you get into Shiawassee County, is the fact that these are likely separate circulation. So this isn't just one storm. So it looks like there's two separate tornado warnings for two separate areas of rotation. That's what we're talking about in this line, and what we've been talking about. We've been on air for a good while now, and along this line, you just get very quick spin ups, and that's prompting the National Weather Service. This is now getting into the Detroit office area to put out tornado warnings. So that's eventually moving up into the Owasso area, and you can see just where you get the red and green to meet. It's just showing that there's two different wind directions right there, which can indicate rotation, and that's why the National Weather Service has put out these tornado warnings. And even further off to the north and west, still parts of Clinton County under that tornado warning. So we've been on air for what? Close to 2 hours now. Yeah. It's been a while because we've had active severe weather, active tornado warnings in our area, and we continue to see that across mid-Michigan.
I want to repeat, the tornado warning for northeastern Ingham County has been canceled. That was on radar. That's moved northeast and weakened a little bit, but the severe thunderstorm warnings still remain. Just because you remove the tornado threat doesn't mean you still have the real gusty winds. Heavy rain and hail is a possibility, and that warning continues till 7:30. That's a severe thunderstorm warning. Remember, we're all under a watch that goes till 9 o'clock. I would imagine counties west that have seen the line of storms will be dropped out slowly through the next couple of hours, but the severe weather threat's shifting east now and northeast.
And we're also starting to see some damage reports coming from the Williamston area, Andy. So not surprising given the fact that there was some rotation, but also the fact of just the intense line of thunderstorms that has moved in. Now, we do have some good news also that the leading edge and the strongest parts of the thunderstorm is now beginning to move out of mid-Michigan. This now becoming a problem for Metro Detroit, as well as the Flint and Saginaw areas eventually too. But the back edge of this, so if you live in a place like Jackson or Hillsdale, Charlotte, even Lansing, the worst of it is now off to your west. Still seeing quite a bit of rainfall from this, but the worst of it is now beginning to move out of mid-Michigan. I think we could say good riddance, with this intense thunderstorms that have been moving through.
Eaton County Emergency Management is indicating widespread structural damage reported throughout Eaton County.
Wow.
So that's very widespread, as indicated by them. We saw that whole line go through. It was reaching some of the peak winds at the time, going into Jackson County, and then those lone areas of rotation, reports of house damage in Stockbridge, and you've got reports of winds going over 60 miles an hour north of Williamston before they even had troubles recording them anymore. So obviously that whole line continuing to do its thing, now headed into Shiawassee County, and those warnings continued there. If you're in that green shade, that's the area of winds. So we got green and versus red. Winds blowing towards the radar site, blowing away from the radar site. This is not rain. Doesn't associate to rain. It associates to how those raindrops are moving and at what speed. So once you get that leading edge out of the way, you still have a lot of wind, still have a lot of lightning and rain, but your tornado threat starts to diminish. I would think that the tornado warning for central Shiawassee County will be shrunken down a little bit as they move throughout the next 10-15 minutes. But there are still 3 tornado warnings out there for these little spin-up rotations that we have been pinpointing. And the nice thing about Doppler radar is it does give you advance notice, because we've been noticing what's developing way in advance. Maybe it was more than a half an hour watching an area before it actually developed into those really gusty winds in Jackson County, Onondaga, those areas as well. There's roofs been ripped off elementary homes up near Muskegon, so we're all living in the same area as well. The Tekonsha, damage there and throughout the village, so we're going to hear a lot of reports. Again, probably not the safest yet for our crews to get out there, but making plans to do that, just so you are aware. And hopefully by our 11 o'clock news, you'll be able to see some reports of this damage via video.
Yeah, Andy, let me ask you this. You've been in this area for a while. Where would you put this? Is this a higher end severe weather event that you've seen?
What it does to me is it tells me, which I've always felt, that your widespread damage comes from these lines, from a front coming in from the west or the northwest. It always points out to me that is because it's going to affect more people versus having an influx of warm, moist air coming up from the south, and then you bring in a thunderstorm, and then we track it all across, like we did with a couple of years ago, started up near Portland, southern parts of Ingham County, and then right on off towards Williamston, and even further we tracked it all the way into Oakland County. So yeah, this is up there. I think we're going to find out. You guys can take us here on camera 1, 2 in the Weather Center. I think we're going to find out that damage-wise is going to be up there. Obviously nothing's cheap anymore to replace, so that price will go up as well. And then without the power, that is a key thing, which we emphasize so many times last week and this weekend, that this is what the ultimate result would be with these gusty winds. So I'm still floored by a 96-mile-an-hour wind gust. It's going to take a while to get past that. That just doesn't happen very often.
Well,
so,
especially too, there's another report of a weather station in the Williamston area failing at 60 miles per hour. So it's just incredible that even that was able to record that wind gust. We said if they're moving at 70 miles an hour, what kind of wind are you going to get? You're going to get 70 miles an hour most likely, and that's what a lot of people did. And that's structural damage when that happens. And then you bring down any more than that, something like the ASOS stations, which can absorb a high wind gust. That guy's wind anemometer couldn't go past 60. Yeah, and all of it is pretty incredible, and we're not quite out of the woods just yet. These thunderstorms still making their way through parts of mid-Michigan. I know Taylor just left. We're going to see if we can see any damage that's anywhere across Michigan. I bet there's some not too far from the station.
Yeah, I was just going to say we are not going to have to go far. Southern Ingham County hit just probably as hard as part of Jackson County was, Southern Eaton County, and obviously the emergency management saying in both counties there's a lot of damage here and there. Cars flipped over on their roofs that were sitting in a driveway. Those things are the reports that are coming in. So this is a big line of wind that's still going northeast. With the sun going down, we will start to be able to see some of this weaken. The whole watch for us expires at 9 o'clock, if not sooner, as we're starting to see our far northeast sections that watch us involved in those tornado warnings. And it shows up pretty well with, as you mentioned, all those V notches across the county for up to Shiawassee, Durand, those whole areas.
Well, and that's not too far away from Owasso. You know, Owasso, biggest town there in Shiawassee County, and we are seeing some rotation just to the south of the city of Owasso. So if you do live in Shiawassee County, make sure you are in a basement. You need to be in a basement because we are seeing some rotation showing up with these intense thunderstorms. Still do have tornado warnings, even towards Bancroft. There was a tornado there several years ago as well. So we are seeing severe weather. And again, like we mentioned, I'm going to kind of leave it there and I'm going to step over and point out what I'm looking at when it comes to the rotation. And there's just a couple of them. This is incredible. You are seeing some rotation right here, just to the south of Owasso. You could argue that's some rotation there as well. Getting close to Bancroft, right along that I-69 corridor, major road going through Shiawassee County. This probably is looking like the most impressive rotation that we're seeing, just right there near Bancroft, moving very quickly off to the north and east, and even just off to the south of there, another area of rotation. And this is the type of stuff that we've been seeing move through all of mid-Michigan pretty much all afternoon and evening long, with these multiple tornado warnings and quite a bit of damage that's been reported across the area. You know, we forecast the stuff. We can see our computer models do such a great job forecasting severe weather in particular. And sometimes, you know, unfortunately it verifies. You know, sometimes we would like to see it not, but the forecast really did come to fruition here with the possibility of seeing these strong damaging wind gusts. And we're going to stay on air here too because we do have active tornado warnings in effect just off to our north and east into Shiawassee County, with some rotation showing up very close to Owasso and Bancroft. And obviously we have a tremendous amount of damage being reported across mid-Michigan as well, as these severe thunderstorms are making their way through the area and are beginning to move out at least of a lot of mid-Michigan. So our friends over in Metro Detroit will also start to get with some of these thunderstorms. I don't know if we can also pull up the consumer's outage map or some of the outage maps to show you with some of the damage that we are seeing. And if there's any way, if we get any photos sent in, guys, if we get any photos sent in on our website, if we can get those and throw them up on air of any damage, if it's safe for you to do so, if you have any damage near you, if you can send us those photos on our website, and we'll try to show you some of those on air while we continue to be on air. Just look at all these power outages. That is just incredible. Total is now upwards of 144,000 customers affected on Consumers Energy. Again, that does include some folks up north with the ice storm that happened. So that's not all of these power outages, but now we're starting to see some outages there in Shiawassee County. If we can switch over to DTE, if you have that pulled up, because we do cross over into the DTE area as well. Okay, let's do BWL first, and then we'll switch over to DTE. BWL obviously covers the Lansing area, where we have close to 4,000 customers without power as of 7:01. Not surprising. And you see a lot of the outages, it appears to be on the northeast side of the Lansing area. And we will continue to see a lot of these power outages come on through or be reported as these thunderstorms are making their way through mid-Michigan. And once we get that DTE map too, just throw it up there, and we'll kind of talk about that too.
Announce, but there has been injuries with these storms. Just want to point that out. We've both read them. We know where some reports have come in, but it's too early to report on that. But there have been some injuries with people, and either with trees falling, cars, those kind of things, which we will certainly be talking more about as we get into the evening and for the 11 o'clock news.
Yeah, and there is the DTE outage map because we know once you get to the east of the Lansing area, including Williamston, you do get into the DTE area. Quite a few power outages there. It looks like within all of DTE's coverage area, which includes Metro Detroit, about 2,000 customers, just over 2,000 customers without power. We are seeing more reports of damage coming in via the National Weather Service and Emergency Management. Also talking about some tree damage in the Mason area on College Road. So we're seeing some damage from that.
They're so busy. It's hard to even. They deal with some of those damage reports after the fact when they're so busy like this. Because I've seen the same thing out of the Weather Service that covers the southeast part of the state, and there are no reports at all yet with their damage reports, and they've been under warnings of all types for the last hour or so. The strongest part of that bow echo is headed towards, it's gone through Ann Arbor now and it's off to the east. So we are starting to see a few breaks on the Skycam off to the west. The radar is showing just general rain. The circulations are off to the northeast. So as we get those out of our area, obviously we'll monitor the weather, but won't have to continue to interrupt programming as it's quickly moving off to the east. But there's still some counties in mid-Michigan with tornado warnings at least till 7:30, and that one of those is parts of Clinton County and then going off to the northeast there near Owasso. So we're still watching all these gusty winds. You know, the incredible part, if you want to take a long thought of this, is those gusty winds, not like what we've seen, but certainly gusty winds, will also make it into the northern part of the state where every tree is covered with ice. So that will just make the damage reports come in even worse for those areas up there. And then you think of the linemen that have to be up there and down here at the same time to get the state of Michigan back with power. I think we'll find many, many states sending power crews here in the next 24 to 48 hours, since the area of power outages starts in southwest Michigan, works into the Lansing area, Jackson area, and I'm sure eventually the Detroit area as well. So it's amazing the reports that have come out, and now to learn that some folks have been injured, either being trapped in a car, tree on a house, all those kind of things. Thankfully nobody was outside that we've heard of, but we'll get more and more in those. As we like to say in the weather office, when it's in the air, it's our concern. Once the damage is on the ground, it shifts over to the news department, and they are scurrying to get all those reports from the different sheriff deputies and emergency management crew.
Yeah, and now we're seeing the tornado warnings kind of getting trimmed back there. Now far northeastern sections of Shiawassee County. Eventually those storms are going to be moving into parts of Genesee and Saginaw counties, kind of out of our area. So we'll probably wrap up our coverage here soon because the worst of these severe thunderstorms are now moving away from us. And there is just a tremendous amount of damage being reported across the area as these severe thunderstorms move in. When you get this type of system, you get this type of wind gust, everything just comes down. And the fact that we saw some rain last night, quite a bit of rain last night, you know, the ground is wet, that only leads to further issues there too. I'm going to show you the current active watches and warnings. We're kind of getting away from a lot of mid-Michigan being included in anything, but if you do have any friends or family that live over in Metro Detroit or up into the Thumb, these storms are moving up into that direction. So Andy, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
Just one final thought here, because now we're looking on, as we saw, the sky cams, little peaks of sun trying to come out behind this rainfall, and I'm sure everybody wants to go out and see what's gone or whatever. You saw the power outages. That's not because they turned off a switch. That's because there's a down power line somewhere, a telephone pole down, those kind of things, those power poles. Do not go into those areas. Do not drive into them. Do not walk into them. And even in your own house or backyard, if you got to peer out and make sure nothing's falling in your yard, because you want to stay totally clear of that and don't need any after storm fatalities for something like that. So that's what I will leave you with, is a simple fact that while the severe weather's moved northeast, and hopefully you spent that time with us to be forewarned, because we were out ahead of this quite a bit. Now it's all that damage stuff. There could be a hanging branch, something like that. We don't need to hear any more things like that. So let the people do what they need to do. Make sure, although they will tell you that they know when your power's out, if you put in a call, They'll make sure that they have somebody out and can analyze it. Stay with their maps. Those power outages maps are updated. Folks at B2L tell me that all the time. Consumers, they know about these things. They try to restore power to those areas that can restore the most power, or those that are urgent need, let's say a hospital, those kind of things. So let's all be patient.
Yeah, I'm running through just one of our graphics here about power line safety. You want to make sure, treat every wire you see on the ground as an active wire. Don't touch it. Don't get close to it. You should report any down wires that you see anywhere close to them. So just make sure you're just leaving them, and the crews will come out and take care of them. Don't touch them. Don't try to move them yourself, because it is very dangerous when it comes to these down power lines. So right now, we're probably going to wrap up our on-air coverage. If you can come back out to camera 1, and we will be talking much more about some of the damage reports that we have been seeing across mid-Michigan. There's also been a tremendous amount of power outages like we have mentioned. So we will have live team coverage continue throughout the rest of the evening, and so make sure you stay with us. If you tune in tonight at 11 o'clock, we will have all of the details, show you some of the damage and everything that you need to know about these storms as this severe weather event comes to an end. But I think we'll wrap up. Andy and I have been here for a while. I think we're going to wrap up our on-air coverage right now. So we appreciate everyone watching, and we'll keep you updated with some of the damage and everything else that we see throughout the night. But for now, we will send things back over to regularly scheduled programming on WILX.
This has been a News 10 First Alert Weather Special Report. We now join our regularly scheduled program already in